last season, last 2 seasons, we are always in the news for a negative reason.
100%.
Always in the news.
100%.
Just look at from Cristiano, no, from Mason Greenwood to Cristiano to David De Gea to Jadon Sancho to Marcus
Anthony,
Rashford
to even
to Anthony.
I mean, well, I think the past 2-3 seasons we've been cursed. I mean, we've been cursed for
We've
the
been
past
cursed since
10
the day
years.
Ferguson left.
Yeah, but the thing is, the way Ten Hag has been able to maneuver the ship despite so many things going against him, I'm very happy that the takeover has now finally gone through. It's not a takeover, but the 25% investment has gone through. Personally, I would be very honest with you. I wanted Qatar to take over maybe 2-3 months ago because I wanted nothing to do with the Glazers anymore. I just wanted Glazers out to be 100%. But then I just realized that, there's no point stressing because these things are not in my hands, so might as well go for the ride. And I was very cynical. I was a big skeptic when Sir Jim Ratcliffe first took over, but because my first instinct was that this gentleman is a businessman, and this is purely a business deal for him. But clearly not. The changes that he has made, I think, have been really positive.
Yeah, in the past 20 years, I think the Glazers, they just focus on the business side of the club instead of like our achievements on the pitch.
Yeah.
Everything Cristiano Ronaldo said, like I think like everything he said is true.
Absolutely.
It has come to pass. Having the same like training grounds, like the infrastructures, nothing has changed at Old Trafford, and now everything is coming out clearly now. And looking at the Glazers, even though United has been one of the best clubs when it comes to like its commercial side, from the likes of Eric Cantona, the business deals that came with Eric Cantona, with David Beckham, the deals that came with Beckham, with Cristiano Ronaldo, the deals that came with Cristiano Ronaldo. These people have made a lot of money. The Glazers, they've made a lot of money from the commercial side, but they've achieved less on the pitch.
Yeah, and that's been a running theme. Even when we were winning stuff under Sir Alex, I think we weren't spending as much people make it out to be. So of course, since 2005, before 2005, we were a debt-free club, and we've been under debt for so long. All the interest payments that we've made ever since amount to at least £1 billion. Yeah, of course we spent £1 billion, but we should have spent another £1 billion because we're the biggest club in England, and we should be doing that.
Not just in England, bro. United is the biggest club in the world.
Of course,
looking at where we come from, looking at where I come from Africa. I come from Ghana.
Yeah.
I grew up I thought Manchester United is a club in Ghana. Because I grew up in a household like everyone talks about Manchester United. When United is playing a game, even though I knew nothing about football, I knew okay, there is a club called Manchester United, and I thought okay, this is something like maybe part of my country. Until I got to an age that I realized no, United has nothing to do with Ghana or my country, that kind of thing. So that's how big Manchester is.
While I was growing up, I'm only 20 years old, I may look older, but
Yeah.
So back after 2013 is probably when I first really started to watch football. I've been a fan since I was 6 years old. I remember really first starting to support Man United after Cristiano Ronaldo left.
Yeah.
My first ever favorite player was Dimitar Berbatov.
Yeah.
So
man.
I remember that we were very good, and then I just remember us not being very good. And but we were still such a big name in India as well. I think Man United probably has the biggest fan base in India. So it just goes on to show that despite us being so bad, we are still so popular. Imagine if we were successful in the last 10 years when social media has had this massive boom.
Yeah. I think
we certainly would have been the biggest club in the world.
Even though we're not achieving a lot on the pitch, but I think we still have that strong effect on people, even outside the UK.
As they say, hated, adored, but never ignored, my friend. I mean, it's just so cold. That line is my favorite.
Yeah, United, Manchester United. I'm so excited, finally having this Ineos 25% acquisition, approved by the Premier League. So seeing the people that the Ineos are trying to bring in, because it seems like there's a wind of change blowing around Manchester United, because it seems like we have a lot of things that needs to be done at Manchester United. I think the stadium needs to be redeveloped.
Yeah.
We need a new physio. We need new head of recruitment. We've got a new CEO coming as the person of Omar Berrada. We are still looking for a sporting director, Dan Ashworth. It seems like there is a lot of change that is going to happen around Manchester United. How quick are you expecting an impact of the Ineos on Manchester United? How quick are you expecting it? Do you think they come in and we can get a new impact within 6 months or 1 year or 2 years or 3 years?
Oh, I think this has to be a process whereby I think the fans will need to be patient. I'm not expecting us to I'm not expecting us to reach Man City levels in the next 1-2 years. But what I'm expecting is that there is a set objective, there's a set plan that this team will follow. And you know what? I think we are in for a very big roller coaster ride. We're going to see a lot of players that we didn't expect to leave, that they will be sold. and all players that we didn't the club to bring in. I think we're in for a lot of surprises.
Yeah, so with the name like the sporting director name that's been like on every Manchester United fan lips, then Ashworth, then
Yeah.
Ashworth, then Ashworth, then Ashworth. So I took a time last night before even
Mhm.
just to do a little research about Manchester and about Dan Ashworth,
Mhm.
and you should read theathletic.com. They've published a very interesting article
Mhm.
about Dan Ashworth, everything that you need to know about Dan Ashworth. So I just took something for you just to have a look at his profile
Sure,
to know the
please.
person that we come in. So Dan Ashworth at his CV, we're just looking at his CV. So in the year 2000, he worked as academy director at Peterborough. In the year 2001, he was the excellence director at Cambridge United.
Mhm.
2004, he was West Brom assistant youth manager. And then 2007, West Brom sporting and technical director. 2012, FA director of early development. And then 2019, he was at Brighton technical director. And
Mhm.
then 2022, he was Newcastle sporting director
Mhm.
in the year 2022. So this looks like okay, he's someone who has like his CV speaks about himself
Himself.
like a lot. So we just look at his role, what he did at West Brom and Brighton before moving to, and his role
Mhm.
even at Newcastle. I stand. So at West Brom, he oversaw 4 departments at West Brom, and
Mhm.
at Brighton, he joined in early 2019, and that 4 department that he oversaw at Brighton developed like became into 7.
Mhm.
They improved it to 7. So he was in charge of the men's first team, the
Mhm.
women's first team,
Mhm.
the recruitment,
Mhm.
loans,
Mhm.
academy,
Mhm.
medical and sports science,
Mhm.
psychology and mental health,
Oh, okay.
well-being. So
Mhm.
he was in charge of all of that at Brighton,
Wow.
and at Newcastle, Ashworth's job at Newcastle was to he was in charge of overall vision of the club. So
Mhm.
he has modernized Newcastle from top to bottom,
Mhm.
upgrading the academy, integrating the women's first team into the club, and making them a professional outfit. Blustering previous skeleton staff level across the board and introducing new departments and fresh roles, such as recruiting Dr. Ian Mitchell, their
Mhm.
first head of psychology,
Mhm.
last October. Ashworth also oversaw the £10 million, which is $12.5 million upgrade of Newcastle's training ground, while he has been central to the search for a new site to build a state-of-art facility in the future that will hold the men's and women's team.
Mhm.
So he has done quite a lot. It's like how he operates,
Mhm.
So Ashworth, at his previous clubs, Ashworth has operated using three-pronged traffic light system regarding transfer.
Okay.
The recruitment department would have a vote before they sign a player. The recruitment department would have a vote,
Mhm.
while the financial package behind the deal had to make sense.
Okay.
And then the final call was given to the head coach. If all the three votes like returning green lights, the club would proceed.
Wow.
Yeah, the club would proceed to sign the player. And importantly, this way, the head coach does not have players force upon him or the autonomy to sign whoever he wants.
Yeah, and this isn't this exactly what we need?
This is
Whereby
exactly what we need.
I think most managers have been victims of having being given players that they don't want.
Yeah.
Very famous examples could be Jose Mourinho never wanted to sign Fred, but he was still given Fred for 50 million. And then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer never wanted Donny van der Beek, but he was given Donny van der Beek instead of Jack Grealish and Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
So, this is exactly what we need.
And even
And
yeah, with looking at Ten Hag, even
yeah,
I want to talk about Ten Hag because looking at the kind of players that he brought in, I don't think like those players would have come to United if you had this kind of structure.
absolutely.
If you had this someone like Dan Ashworth, because
Yeah.
looking at Anthony cost United 80 million for nothing.
Yeah.
Excuse me to say, like he's played how many matches? Over 23 matches. He's only scored 1 goal.
Yeah, and I think Anthony, as Man United fans, I think we should cut him some slack. In his personal life, he obviously has been going through a lot.
Yeah.
But you can say even before any of this, he wasn't very good.
Nah, before any of this, he wasn't any good, bro. He was good at Ajax, but he has struggled like to bring that form to Manchester United. Looking at Mohamed Kudus, even though like okay, the pressure on Manchester United, like Manchester United, every game is a win. Every
Yeah,
game is a win.
absolutely. Yeah,
There is no excuses.
yeah.
But okay, playing Mohamed Kudus at like West Ham, he also came from Ajax, the same
Mhm,
club, under
mhm,
Ten Hag. But
mhm.
look how many goals he has scored for West Ham.
Yeah, and I totally agree. But we were saying the same stuff about Anthony when he scored 3 goals in 3 games when he first came in. Yeah, when he first came in. But I think the thing with Anthony is I don't really see the hype behind him. Even when he was playing good for Man United, I still had my reservations about him.
Mm.
But everyone told me, you know what, be patient. He's a good player. Now the same people are telling me, oh, he's terrible. He's bad. So I think we are too reactionary sometimes.
Yeah,
Again, but the thing is, if we as a team are not satisfied with how our players perform, we should be able to move them on. Now, this is the big test that Ineos have on their hands. how well are they able to move these players on that we don't really need anymore?
Yeah,
Because
because
this is
there are a
something
lot
that we've
of
failed
players.
at for so long.
There are a lot of players that needs to move on.
Hundred
We've had
percent.
enough of them. Like seeing those players reminds me like of those bad era that we have.
Yeah.
Excuse me to say, like someone like Anthony Martial. If I say
Yeah.
Anthony Martial, it reminds me of those era that we have like Alex. What's his name? Alex Sanchez.
Yeah.
We had
Alexis.
Sanchez.
Yeah.
We have those players. Di Maria. That like okay, we achieved nothing in the season.
Yeah. And even the thing with Martial is I think it was so good in 2020 when he was top scorer for Man United, and him, Rashford and Greenwood. I think we were really building towards something. But I think, as he said, I was overplayed. I was made to play through injuries, and I think that has had a massive toll on his mental health and his physical health.
Yeah.
And now he's just checked out. I think he's just
Now
making that paycheck, and he
No,
knows that his playing career essentially.
now with Martial, he needs to move on because he cannot even when he
Yeah.
went to Seville, he even struggled.
Yeah,
Injuries,
absolutely.
like having consistent
Yeah.
injury, even at Seville, he even struggled. I don't think he played even up to like 10 matches at Seville.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because he struggled at Seville. So if you're having such a player, we just have to move him on and bring someone
Absolutely,
in that's
and
much
I would
better than
agree.
that.
And I don't think we have to worry about him because his contract ends this season, and I'm pretty sure we're not going to renew
Nah,
it.
he-
So
he
he's
should-
gone
he
as a
should
free
be gone.
agent. But I remember when he first joined, I was 12 years old when he first came in, and I absolutely loved him and Rashford.
Nah,
and
when he came in, his first season was absolutely phenomenal.
even his first season, and then I would say the season which was 1920, 20, and 21. I think these seasons were really good. And even last season, when despite him being injured for most of the time, when he came on, when he was back, even Erik Ten Hag would say that, "Oh my God, Martial is a really good player."
Martial, like no disrespect to Martial, Martial is a good player. You can't take that away from him. But the injuries,
Absolutely, and
the injuries like has sidelined him for a long time.
Yeah.
Even like look at Phil Jones. Phil
Mhm.
Jones is absolutely a monster when he's in the like defensive line.
yeah,
But injuries with this kind
Yeah.
of players, like you can't have them in the team because we need to like build something that we know. Okay,
Absolutely.
this is a team that's competing for Champions League. You
and
can't have a player that's competing for Champions League that like goes off injury like out of a season. He's had like 3 months injury or 4 months
yeah,
into the
absolutely.
season almost gone.
And even Ten Hag says that you can't really build a team when you don't have a consistent 11 to pick from.
Yeah.
And I absolutely sympathize with the man. Yes, I think this is one thing that we should really look into. And I think we're going to improve a lot in the next 2-3 years. But I'm going to be patient. I'm here for the ride. And I am looking for an organic sort of growth rather than just them coming in, pumping 100, 200 million pounds, just pumping in money to make us better. I think that's very hit and miss, I would like to
Yeah.
say. I would like rather slow organic growth because I think a slow organic growth is going to last for a very long time,
Yeah,
and
that's
we
gonna last.
can probably build another dynasty.
And I think that's what we're gonna get from Dan Ashworth.
100%.
Because looking at the signings that he did for Brighton and Newcastle, Moses Caicedo, 4.5 million,
Wow.
Cucurella, 15.4,
Mhm.
Tossard, 15 million,
Mhm.
McAllister, 7 million, Mitoma, 2.7 million.
Wow. Yeah.
And then look at Tariq Lamptey.
And the two players that you mentioned there, Moises Caicedo and Marco Correa, these were two players that we were looking
We
at
were looking at,
ourselves,
yeah,
but we
we were
could never
looking
get them. And yes, I think Dan Ashford, even Everton's sporting director has said that Dan Ashford is the best
Yeah.
sporting director in the league. He's the best director of football in England.
This country has produced.
So, I mean,
yeah, Kevin Towell.
that just goes on to speak so much about him.
Oh, this is interesting. I can't wait. Let's look at some of the signings that like we made under Ten Hag.
Yeah.
So we got Anthony from Ajax, 86 million. We got Rasmus Højlund from Atlanta, 72 million.
Mhm.
Casemiro from Real Madrid, 70 million.
Mhm.
Mason Mount from Chelsea, 60 million. Lisandro Martinez from Ajax, 56.7 million. Andre Onana from Inter Milan, 47.2 million.
Mhm.
Tara Malacia from Feyenoord, 14.7 million.
Mhm.
Altay Beinda from Fenerbahce, 4.3 million.
Mhm.
Christian Eriksen from Brentford, free.
Free.
And John Evans, free as well. In total, 410.9 million pounds. That's how we spend on this
And
players.
yeah, I think that just goes on to show the deficiencies that Man United have had, whereby we do not have a strong recruitment structure who could stand up and say, hey, I don't think these players are good enough for you, or we can bring in new or better players. Even the thing with people always bring up Anthony's price tag. We could have
It's too
gotten
much.
Anthony.
Anthony's too much.
I know, I agree, but it isn't anyone else's fault. We could have bought Anthony back in June.
Yeah.
Before the start of the season, we could have got him for maybe 50-60 million. But we knocked Ajax's door after the season has started and they sold most of their players. And then Ajax just said, hey, if you make us an offer that we cannot refuse, we'll give it to him.
Because we bought Anthony out of desperation. Because we were desperate when we bought Anthony. And even Casemiro, we were desperate.
We were desperate. Yes, you're absolutely correct. We lost to Brighton. We lost to Brentford in a very,
and then
very
the fans
shocking
were like,
manner.
the fans were going on protest every game, every now and then. The fans
And
were.
they
So the
knew.
Glazers wanted to give us something. Okay, just take this one and just keep quiet. So
And-
they brought Anthony and Casemiro.
And I think Casemiro turned out to be a blessing in disguise. A lot of people had doubts about Casemiro because he was not a sort of player that we were looking for.
No.
We were looking for Frankie de Jong, but I'm very happy that we have
And even
Casemiro
we've
now.
been linked with De Jong again.
Yeah,
Because
and
Barcelona want to offload him because of the financial fair play.
we've got Kobe Mino, so
You don't need De Jong anymore.
I don't want Frankie de Jong
So
anymore.
that's one of my problems with Ten Hag. Like, he wants to bring all of his old boys back. He's not willing to like
The thing
move on
is,
from his days in Ajax. Because look at the players that he brought. He brought Onana.
yeah,
He worked with Onana. He brought Ericsson because he worked with Ericsson.
yeah,
He brought Lisandro Martinez because he worked with Lisandro Martinez. He brought Tyrell Malacia because he wanted to sign him when he was at Ajax,
yeah.
but he couldn't get the chance to sign him. So most of the players that he's bringing are the people that like he's worked with. It's good to bring like the people that you know, but you have to like move on from the past. That's why I think you have to move on from the past,
Yeah.
bring in another squad, and try to build from that one.
I totally understand, but the thing is, we keep mentioning that Ten Hag only brings in players from Ajax, but he's only been here for 2.5 seasons.
But he's made a lot of signing in the two and a half seasons.
Of course, you need to give your manager the tools that he needs to build. I totally agree that yes, not every player should be somehow linked to you in the past. Amrabat was a player that had played under Ten Hag.
Under Ten Hag as well.
Ten Hag was looking at Mason Mount when he was at loan in 2019 in the Dutch
So he had to
league.
bring Mason Mount.
So he brought Mason Mount as well. I totally understand a lot of fans' frustration.
Do you consider
against
Mason Mount as
Ten
the
Hag.
worst signing under Ten Hag?
Oof, I wouldn't go as far to say that because Mason Mount has barely had the time to prove himself.
But
One thing that I did not understand at all was giving Mason Mount the number 7 shirt.
So let
That's
me ask you.
I mean-
Let me get this from you. Who will you consider like, okay, this is the bad signing from under Ten Hag?
I would say Anthony.
Anthony, yeah.
Because I just, even when we signed him, I just didn't really see him doing the stuff that we
For me,
needed
I was
for the
excited.
team.
I was excited when we were signing Anthony.
No, I just could never see it. He was so one-footed for me, and I remember one commentator in his first game against Arsenal saying he's very, very single-footed, but even Messi's very single-footed. But I was like, no, I mean Messi can produce magic from both of his feet, but with Anthony, I think it's just just his left foot.
And Anthony with the problem, like he doesn't put in a lot of crossing in the 18.
He doesn't. He just wants to cut in
on
and
the
shoot.
left. Yeah, just cut and shoot.
The thing
And
was-
he's part of the reason why Holland has struggled to score.
Absolutely.
But having Garnacho and Rashford on the wings, even though Rashford, that's what sometimes he doesn't put a lot of crossing in, but like he has managed to score a lot of goals having these two people on the flanks.
Absolutely, and the thing with Anthony is that Ajax, I had seen Anthony put in a lot of crosses. So one thing that I was excited about Anthony was he didn't really come across as a very selfish player to me, and I was hoping that he would do the stuff that he was doing at Ajax, but no. The one good thing that has happened ever since we've moved Garnacho to the right is Garnacho is now forced to be a bit less selfish because it is now harder for him to cut in and shoot from the right wing.
Yeah.
Even when Garnacho was playing on the left wing, he was always cutting in and shooting. He was barely playing in a cross. Maybe he was putting in the odd cutback, which was not leading to anything. A lot of people, I think, gave Marcus Rashford a lot of unnecessary hate. I think before Højlund actually started scoring in the Premier League, most of the chances that were created for Højlund came from Marcus Rashford. And Marcus Rashford thinks of him as the best player at Man United, and I like that confidence. So if you
is he the best player at United?
In terms of pure ability, I think yes.
In terms of ability, you think he's our best player?
But I think the player that has the highest ceiling in this team, that oh my god, this is the limit that he can reach in terms of how good he can be, I think is Kobe Mino. I think he has the highest ceiling. The thing with Garnacho is, I really like him.
No,
but I just
he can't do like
the thing with Garnacho is one really great thing about him is his mentality and his obsession with being the next Cristiano, and I think that's going to keep pushing him to be the world's best, one of the world's best. But in just terms of pure ability, in terms of our front three, I think Rashford is definitely the best we have.
So imagine I know this is highly not going to be possible. Just imagine. So having Greenwood back in this squad, and then having Greenwood part of this front three or front four, or whatever you call it. So let's say maybe Marcus Rashford, having Højlund, having Garnacho, and have Mason Greenwood somewhere in that four.
I think the thing with Mason Greenwood is, now you mentioned Mason Greenwood. In my entire life as a Man United fan, I've been a fan of this club for 14 years, and I think he's probably the best player I've ever
Huh.
seen. Even there was a lot of times when Mason Green would just shoot from absurd angles, and as I could see him bracing up for the shoot, I would just say, "This is a very stupid angle, my friend. Don't shoot from here."
Yeah,
And it would
and he
go
does.
in,
Yeah,
and he would always score.
He scored one of those goals recently in La Liga.
In La Liga
he
as
scored.
well. Yeah,
He
think
scored one of those goals in La Liga.
I remember, Cristiano Ronaldo getting extremely frustrated at Mason Green for constantly taking shots, but most of them were goals. So even Cristiano would applaud him. I remember his goal against Leicester City.
No, Mason Green would.
I think in terms of ceiling now, if you've mentioned his name, I don't want to say his name, but now in terms of pure ability, I think there was no one who was close to Mason Greenwood. I think it was so good.
So his loan deal ends in this summer with Getafe.
Yeah.
So we have Manchester United have the possibility of like bringing him back.
They have a decision to make. I would say
coming back to England is going to be difficult for him, because I remember I was at Old Trafford with a game against West Ham, and the West Ham fans, they were singing like some of abusive song. I can't see him like surviving in that kind of pressure with that kind of song, with that kind of hate coming from the fans.
It won't be possible. I don't think Ineos would take such a big risk of reinculcating him such an unpopular figure in our team. I think it will be self-destructive, and who knows, there might be some players in the United squad who don't like him, who don't like Mason Greenwood.
Yeah, and even the women's team, like, they've made a lot of complaints when this issue came up. Like, there's been a lot of like statement from the women's team, like, and most of the ladies are complaining they're not comfortable.
There was about to be protests from the employees at Man United who said, "Oh, if he comes back, we're not gonna do our job." And I remember when this news first came out, Marcus Rashford had posted a picture with his partner instantly. Yeah, instantly. That just goes on to show that maybe there is a bit of
what happened. I'm not in the perfect position like to judge what he did or that kind of thing. But it's highly likely
that he's not gonna come back. And the thing is, I'm just gonna talk about in terms of pure footballing ability. Yeah. Please don't cancel me, guys. I'm saying whichever teams gets their hands on Mason Greenwood, I think will be very
Barcelona. He's been linked with Barcelona as well.
Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, I think there was a little small, I don't think how reliable, but there were talks of maybe a swap deal for Mason Greenwood and João Felix. And
Felix,
I would take Felix.
I would take Felix. Yeah, I would take. But I do think Felix can survive in this. Can he get a role in this front three that we have?
The thing again with Felix is he's so versatile. You can put him on in any position. The thing at Man United is it should be all about healthy competition. It should be the best going against the best in the training ground, and only the best coming on top. That is how you build a real competitive culture at Man United, whereby you're going to get the best players out there. And I don't think we should. Why shouldn't we have the world's best players, not just one, but two in each position? I think that's how we'll probably end up being world class again. Yeah. We're trying to build a dynasty here. I think Erik ten Hag, for me, in my opinion, I think is the perfect dynasty manager. He was the hipster's choice, 3 years ago, where everybody wanted Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag was in the list to replace Jurgen Klopp when he decided to leave. He was on the list to replace Pep Guardiola. He was on everyone's name, like Xabi Alonso is today. So I think Erik ten Hag, for me, he's the perfect man for the job. I just want Ineos to give him a fair chance. I don't want Ineos to make up their minds now based on of this season. And you've watched it with your own eyes. When he's had his good team and he's had his first team back, we've performed really well.
I'm so excited. I'm very optimistic, like what's going to happen in the couple of years to come. If we're going to have this structure, this potential structure at United. Yeah. Having Sergeant Ratcliffe as co-owner, Erik ten Hag as football manager, David Brasford, who is currently leading an audit into the club's operation, Omar Beretta, our CEO, then Ashworth, director of football, Jean-Claude Leblanc, board member, Paul Mitchell, head of recruitment, and Nick Cox, head of academy.
Yeah, I think
having these people like
I think this accumulating the Avengers to maybe bring Man back. I read that Paul Mitchell is not going to join Manchester United. I think he's told Sergeant Ratcliffe that
he's not going to join. Yeah,
I think he said that he wants to pursue other opportunities. Best wishes to Paul Mitchell as well. But again, we're getting Nick Cox, who was at Manchester City under Mr. Omar, and now he's at Southampton. Now he can potentially join Manchester United as well. And I don't want us to oversaturate the whole sporting department, I just want clear roles to be set for everybody and then working with the manager. And of course, I don't want Erik ten Hag to be solely making these choices whereby, I want this player, so you have to get me. Yeah, he
even spoke about this exactly at like the press conference yesterday, that at Manchester United, you can't do everything alone. So you need very good people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And absolutely, he's right. And I think it just goes on to show that even he realizes that this is the world's biggest job. This is the world's hardest job, and I can't do this myself. Maybe, and I like that arrogance. If you thought that when he first came in that I by myself
I
can
can do
solve
everything.
everything, then I respect him. That just goes on to show that the character that he has. But I also respect him for now realizing that maybe, you know what,
No.
I can use help from maybe Dan Ashford and Mr. Omar.
At the beginning of the season, I really wanted him gone because like I had enough. Like even from the end of last season to this season,
Yeah,
because we considered a lot of goals.
and I totally understand.
Conceded 7 against Liverpool,
Liverpool,
6 to
yes.
Man City. It was a lot to take in. Like it became anytime that we had a game, I thought like, oh, it's one of those days. We're just going to take like 4 or 5 and just
But
go away.
we knew these things about him, that he's very stubborn. He doesn't like changing his plans. He doesn't like to go from plan A to
Nah,
plan
he's
B.
very stubborn. He's very stubborn.
And even some of the decisions that he was making this season, you know, taking Kobe Mino off for Scott McTominay, and then we go on to drop points and constantly picking on Onana despite him making mistakes, not giving
and
Bandir a fair shot at the goalkeeping spot. And then a lot of decisions that he was
sometimes
making.
he's after supporting Onana, but even with the Cameroonian national team,
Yeah.
Andre Onana, he considered like 3 goals in his first game.
That was
the second game of Cameroon in AFCON.
Yeah.
And he considered 3 goals.
yeah.
The coach decided, okay, I'm not going to use you. I'll use a cousin.
Mhm.
So he uses cousin in the rest of the games. So that's how like you have the option. You have a second. He brought Alta Bayinde to Manchester from Fenerbahce.
Yeah.
At least give him a chance.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to prove himself. Since he
And-
came to United, I think he's only played one game,
One game.
which is against Newport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in that game, finally, he ended up conceding 2 goals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
I was really
conceded 2
worried.
goals.
And
Oh, United. Glory, my United.
I love this club.
I'm looking forward. I'm so optimistic. Not this season, even though not this season, I'm looking forward that we can qualify for Champions League
Yeah.
for next season. But
If-
I'm not expecting us to compete with the likes of Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Even though Liverpool might just go down the drain because Klopp is going. Everything that he's worked for is just gonna go down. Even though he might get someone, they've said Xabi
Yeah.
Alonso. Xabi Alonso might come in, but it's not gonna be that easy for him. Just like what's his name, Fergie, leaving United.
Yeah.
After everything that he built, it's not
Mhm.
easy for someone to just come and continue. It definitely has to go through a slope before it comes up
Absolutely.
again.
I
So
think
Liverpool going through a slope next season might give us the chance to like just put our head up there.
probably, and you know, a transition period is never easy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when Sir Alex left Manchester United, the whole structure left with him as well.
Yeah.
And David Moyes, in my opinion, took the wrong approach. He just came in with a bulldozer and he wanted to start over. He was getting rid of all the good players we had, and he was not respected enough either.
And I
But
think
the
he didn't
thing
get
is-
enough support. He didn't get the support he needed.
Maybe, but I think his approach was too holistic. You know, he was too hostile when he first came. But the thing with if Xabi Alonso goes to Liverpool, I think he will have a good structure around him. You know, I think
But it's
Liverpool have had a very organic type of growth that we are looking to achieve. We're not going for the Man City approach. We're going for the Liverpool approach, whereby you build in a structure, whereby you do the right recruitment for the right prices, and then you slowly develop into a good team. And you look at the current Liverpool squad; it's not a bad team.
No,
in all
Liverpool,
honesty.
this Liverpool squad is not. I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking they might win the league this season.
Oh, I don't want that.
I don't want that to happen. But looking at their performance, I want Arsenal to win the league instead
Oh
of
yeah,
like
100%.
City.
I
I
mean,
don't want Arsenal to win the
yeah,
league
that's
instead of City.
very obvious.
But looking at the way Liverpool are playing and the squad they're having, it seems like a farewell season. A farewell season for Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. So I
Yeah.
think like okay, the players are okay. We're gonna do this thing for you.
Yeah.
We win the league
Yeah.
for you to send you off with the league.
Yeah, and I think that is a play from Liverpool Football Club to really get the fans charged up for the business end of the
Yeah.
season. Because you know, when Fergie was leaving, we didn't know till we actually won the league. It was after we won the league, he
And then
came
before
out
he
and said,
said,
"Hey, my friends, I'm gonna leave now."
yeah, I still remember that moment around the stadium. Like everyone, I was at home watching it.
I was
really,
in-
is he really living?
I was in India and my brother told me, I was a kid back then. I couldn't even understand, but I realized I was shocked, and I told him, "Hey, you're lying to me. You're lying to me." And he said, "No, Sir Alex is leaving, and you know who's gonna take over?" And I asked him, "Who?" And he said, "David Moyes." And I was like, "You're laughing, man."
Yeah.
But-
Sir Alex Ferguson has become an iconic figure around Manchester.
It's always, I mean, the thing with Sir Alex is, you know, a lot of people blame him for the bad stuff that we're going through because it was him who allowed the Glazers to take over, who let the Glazers
and during
to
his
come
time,
in.
he was doing everything alone.
Yeah, and the thing, I think the deal that the Glazers and Sir Alex had was, you let us in the club and we're not going to ask you a question of how you do the things. And Sir Alex, the sort of character he is, I think he likes to be the boss of everything. Again, for respect to him, you know. I mean, that is, you know, you need that sort of character to build the sort of things that he built. So I don't really blame Sir Alex for doing what he did because maybe in his heart, the club's interest was in him, you know.
Yeah.
Him being successful means that the club is successful.
Yeah, it was like a split road, I think. Sir Alex Ferguson was mainly in charge of the playing body, whilst the Glazers they were just focusing on the business
On
side.
the business side. And I think I think bringing Cristiano back more than a footballing decision. I think it was a business decision.
Yeah, it was a business decision. Even though like he was good, Ronaldo, you cannot take that away from Cristiano Ronaldo. But it was mainly a business decision,
Yeah,
and they
absolutely.
benefited from that. They solely
100%.
benefited from that.
And I think even the fans wanted Cristiano to come back. I
But
don't think any fan said, "Oh, I don't want Cristiano to come
but
back."
it's interesting some of the things that like people say about the Glazers. Like they never even get. But some of the players have been in the club for 5 seasons. They never met the Glazers before.
Yeah, and
But Ineos was Sergeant Ratcliffe
has met the players,
has met the players.
manager. Yeah,
That shows the difference. Like, okay, this man is in for the playing body. He's more focused
Mhm.
about like our achievements on the
Mhm.
pitch. Whilst these people, they're just behind the scenes. Okay, getting the work done, getting the deals, the sponsorship deals, and we've got some good sponsorship deals as well. Getting deal with Adidas, even though we're not performing, we managed to get
Chevrolet
deal with Adidas,
even.
Chevrolet as well.
Even Team Viewer, you know.
Yeah, TeamViewer as well. So it's just like okay, the business aspect.
As it's perfect, but the thing is, Man United just sells itself. Do you really think that these guys are business geniuses? I don't think so.
No,
I
Man
could do their sponsorship deals. I could just go on, knock the door, and say, "We're Man United, mate. we're Man United. We're the biggest club in the world. We bring in the most clicks. If you sponsor us, you're gonna be one of the biggest names in the world as well." So it's not a hard thing for them to do by bringing in these big commercial deals. Okay, full respect to you. If we were performing well on the pitch, I think our business value would have increased anyways.
Yeah, it would have increased.
And
But
it's just really
you
stupid.
can't take that away from. That's how big United is. Even though we are not performing well on the pitch, the business strategies and the business standard, they're still there.
We literally stole Man City's next CEO by telling him,
Yeah.
"Hey mate, we're Man United." What
And he would definitely-
person in their right mind will want to join Manchester United despite how bad we are? It just goes on to show how popular we are and the sentiment that everybody shares with this club. You look at Dan Ashworth, he just joined Newcastle. I think Newcastle 100% is a much more exciting project than Man United. I'll tell you why, because just the amount of money that they have, they can literally change the world. But Dan Ashworth still would decide to join Man United.
Yeah, but with the history that comes with Man United, I think everyone wants to be part of this history because especially now under Ineos, they are trying to build something. After Sir Alex Ferguson, I think this is the best time that we have.
100%.
And everyone wants to be part of this job.
Yeah.
Even Eric Ten Hag said like, okay, he's happy being part of this construction.
Yeah.
So, and I had one of his interviews, Dan Ashworth, that says like, okay, one of his biggest thing is like he enjoys being part of a new project.
Yeah.
If it's a new project, just put him on. He would love to do it because he wants to say, okay, even at the England national team, at the women's and men's national team, he helped to develop it with the early development of the youth football as well. So he likes to be part of like anything that is building from the scratch, which is exactly that we are doing at Manchester United now.
And that is perfect. I think it's a perfect match. It's a match made in heaven.
And
one thing that I read this morning was that Sir David Brailsford and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, guess who they met?
Who?
Ralph Rangnick.
Perfect.
They met Ralph Rangnick and had a chat about the stuff that was wrong at Manchester United. And I think I was really hoping that whoever takes over Man United at least has a chat with Ralph Rangnick and just asks him what went wrong. Just tell us what was wrong at that club and just tell him how we can improve it.
No, United with Ralph Rangnick coming in, I was very happy because watching his interviews, reading his profile, gave me a lot of confidence that okay, we have everything sorted. But this man came in and he couldn't even move his neck properly around the club.
I totally understand, but the thing is,
that's how mess United was at the moment.
Yeah, exactly, and he wasn't even allowed to. He wasn't even allowed to do the job that he was actually brought in for. He was just the manager to just sail the ship for the next 6 months. There was no real goal in there, and his job was to assess the team from the inside and then maybe make the bigger decisions. But you know, Ten Hag and Ralph Rangnick never met.
No,
I don't think they were even allowed to talk. And they just let Ralph Rangnick go, and they told Eric Ten Hag, we're going to give you full freedom. So maybe Ten Hag said, yes, I want the full freedom. I don't want to maybe work under or work with Ralph Rangnick. But yeah, I think if this report is true, that Sir Jim Ratcliffe actually sat down and had a chat with Ralph Rangnick, I think that's probably one of the best things that they've done. Yeah, and let's say Rashford, we get a massive offer for Rashford. Do you sell or do you keep?
It's Rashford. I think I'll let him move on.
You'll let him move on?
I'll let Marcus Rashford move on because I feel like we're building a new era. He's had like a couple of bad energy vibes around him that like I wouldn't want to take like into the new era that we're moving on. Looking at Kobe Menu, Rasmus Hojlund, Orlando Garnacho, Ahmad, these are young people that we can build to the future with.
Yeah.
And Rashford has been there for a while. He's paid his dues. He's done well. But with the kind of positive energy, negative energy that he's bringing, like, okay, missing trainees, going to the club and that kind of thing. And this is not the first time.
Yeah.
With all respect to Marcus Rashford, but in this kind of situation, if I have a good deal from Paris Saint-Germain, I'll just move in on. Will you keep him?
Because I'm very the thing is, if you let Rashford go, I don't think there are a lot of players in the world who can match his ability. I think on his day, Rashford is probably one of the world's best players. If you know, last season when he was on fire, I think remember the game against Barcelona. He was just scoring.
But
When
it's a gamble for me. I think it's a gamble because
it is a gamble.
We didn't have any striker like Cristiano Ronaldo. He was out of striker.
Yeah.
Before he left, and we brought Rasmus Haaland in as a gamble, and it's
yeah, absolutely, that is true.
So definitely, if you have a good scout, again, if you have a good team, a good recruitment team, we might get someone who is taking less money and who will deliver. Maybe if not like Rashford, just give him a season or two, and he might get to that level.
Absolutely,
and even from our academy, we might get someone.
So let's say we let Rashford go. And then we move Garnacho back to the left. Garnacho is good on both sides. Yeah. And then we bring in Michael Olise from Crystal Palace. And he plays on the right. So, I think there is a possibility whereby we can accommodate for Rashford. I think this may be the best chance to cash in.
And we might even get a good player with less money, a cheap, like a good performance and a cheap price. Because Olise, Rashford is on £350,000 a week now, I think. That's a lot of money. And Olise, I don't think Olise is going to get up to 350. Probably,
no, I think
150 or maybe 200 pounds, £200,000 a week.
Yeah, probably.
And his performance, Olise, like he's young, he's desperate, desperate for greatness.
And also he's a Man United fan.
And he's a Man United fan as well.
Yeah.
And that French connection, having like Olise and Varane as well in the team.
Yeah, that could definitely help.
Yeah, that could.
So okay. I think Rashford.
So it's been an interesting conversation here with Dish, a CWMC convo with Mo CC as usual. It's been an interesting conversation. Dish, what do you have to say?
I think for me this season is just a roller coaster. I'm really just excited about the next season. Yeah. And hopefully, we can have more conversations like these and we can keep entertaining you lovely people.
Yeah, looking forward to bringing you interesting content. Like when it comes to Manchester United, keep it locked down. If you've not subscribed to our channel, subscribe to the channel. And then you can share the page to your friends. So before we go, I'm just going to ask you, do your all-time Manchester United five-a-side team? All time, okay. All time.
Oh, I'm going to go for goalkeeper, I'm going to go for Peter Schmeichel. My favorite ever defender, Nemanja Vidic, as our only centre-back. Then I'm going to go for Michael Carrick, because the way he can just transition the ball from back to front. How many players is that? 3? We have 2 more players remaining. I'm going to go for a creator in Wayne Rooney. And I'm going to go for the big boy, Cristiano
Ronaldo.
Yeah. What's your?
My all-time United five-a-side team is definitely going to be Peter Schmeichel for winning the treble for United. Yeah. So it's going to be definitely Peter Schmeichel. And I'll go for Rio.
Rio?
Yeah, Rio Ferdinand. Okay. I'm a very big fan of Rio Ferdinand, so I'll definitely go for Rio Ferdinand. In the midfield, I'm going to go for Paul Scholes. His ability to distribute the balls from the center of the midfield to any angle of the path.
Good job.
I'm just going to go for Paul Scholes. And then out from there, you can never do a five-a-side Manchester United team without adding Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, that's just impossible.
So I'm definitely going to put Cristiano Ronaldo on the side. I'll go for Berbatov. There's 5. Yeah. I'll go for Berbatov. So it's been an interesting conversation. Yeah. Thank you, folks, for tuning in as well. Don't forget to subscribe. If you've not subscribed, you can like as well. And you can is an opinion firm, so you can leave your opinion at the comment section as well. It's a free word, free digital word. Just be kind and nice, nothing abusive. Don't go off the board. It's just a friendly conversation. CWMC with Mo CC and Dish as well. So I'm gonna see you next weekend because I'm gonna be in Manchester for the Manchester United and Fulham game. So I'll definitely see you at Old Trafford. And then until we meet again.
See you next time, guys.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Glory United. Ciao.